All right, welcome back. I am on my YouTube grind this week. I'm about to post another video, but I've posted like 3 videos in like 2 days, which is crazy for me. But, anyways, it was about time that I gave an update to this week's book. I decided to not read Haruki Murakami's Elephant Vanishes because maybe I might read it in grade 12, and I don't want to, I don't know, mess that up. So I went with this book instead. I went with Fear by Thich Nhat Hanh. I don't really know how to say it. It's a Vietnamese name. But basically, to give a background, this guy is a Buddhist Zen master, and he was also nominated for the, I think, Nobel Peace Prize, yeah, by Dr. Martin Luther King. So yeah, this guy's definitely pretty important. Anyways, I guess for a overall introduction of this book, it's just what the title says. It kind of talks about fear, how to handle it, and what one might perceive as fear, but in reality, it's really not. So let's get into this, and I'll start by giving an introduction or summary. So yeah, there were a few parts of this book that um, I kind of found interesting, and there's not really like chapters. Like, obviously there's physical chapters, but they're not like sectioned really greatly. They're all kind of like random. So rather than like looking at the chapters, which is what I usually do in our summaries, I'm gonna look at kind of topics or like things he brings up instead. So yeah, one of the things he talks about is fearing the past, which I personally have struggled with, like things that have stuck with me in the past that I still think of now. And I guess he addresses it by saying, like, do not revisit the past without being rooted in the present. You can learn from your past by going back, but don't experience the negative emotions that come with it. Like, you have to put a conscious effort into realizing that it's in the past and you are in the present, meaning nothing can change that and nothing will harm you. Ways that you can do this is you can recite, I think they're called gathas, Gathas, basically like little texts that you can say throughout the day to live more present or live deeply. So, for example, you could say while you're having a meal, in this food, I see clearly the presence of the entire universe supporting my existence. You kind of feel like, wow, there's like something going on that's bigger than me. Moving on, he brings up a good comparison for this. So, in a movie, you can obviously sense the sadness of a character, but when you come close to the screen, it's not like you can feel it. It's not tangible. The second topic that he kind of brings up is the opposite of fearing the past and is fearing the future. Those are what he says is the big 5 fears. You're scared of getting old, you're scared of getting sick, you're scared of dying, you're scared of losing the people that you love, and you're scared of basically not existing. And he provides remembrances, which literally are just mantras again, kind of like gathas, to help you like accept these. So the 5 here are, if I list them: I'm the nature to grow old. I cannot escape growing old. I am of the nature to have ill health. I cannot escape having ill health. I am of the nature to die. I cannot escape death. All that is dear to me, and everyone I love, are of the nature to change. There's no way to escape being separated from them. I inherit the results of my acts of body, speech, and mind. My actions are my continuation. And essentially, by reciting these lines, we embrace our fear, and thus it loses its strength. And one of the things that he tells you you can say to feel more present in the moment is, I have arrived, I am home, in the here, in the now, I am solid, I am free, in the ultimate I dwell. Because if you're rooted in the present, you can't really be thinking about the future. he believes that happiness comes from the present, and don't let the future distract you from that. Because you'll see business people or CEOs of some large company being, not as happy as someone who's, with their family all the time and being in the present. All right, so that's pretty much all about the future and fearing that. I think fearing the past and fearing the future are very common fears. Now, moving on, another pretty big fear that we're all scared of is not existing at all, or no one knowing that you existed. Might be existentialism or something, I don't know. Essentially, man's greatest fear is dying and not leaving something behind. That is something that I quoted from him, and honestly, it's kind of true. Then he starts talking about losing family members. I'm sure if it's not making a lot of sense. He jumps around a lot, which is what I found in this book. So let's say you lose a family member, right? Obviously it's painful. They're still living with you in the way that they are a part of you. And he says something about it's not your feet that's helping you walk, it's our feet, as in all your ancestors that came before you. It's strange. It might help someone out there who's dealing with a loss. Personally, I don't really find it soothing. Anyways, that's one of his points, I guess. Oh my god, my hair is just not it today. Oh my. Okay, anyways, another thing is he compares losing someone precious to you as a cloud. The cloud cannot become nothing. It is possible for a cloud to become rain or snow or even hail, but it is not possible for a cloud to become nothing. There's no birth, there's no death. It's kind of just like a cycle. No such thing as totally existing or totally not existing. We transform our fear and suffering into awakened insight this way, and we feel a lot better because it seems like we haven't really lost them. And that's what he kind of argues here. That's that section. Let's talk about appreciating where we are. This one's pretty important. The guy talks a lot about gratitude. So he says, imagine 2 astronauts are on the moon. They cannot go back to Earth since their spacecraft broke, and they only have enough air for 2 days. What would they wish for in that moment? Correct. Probably walking on Earth, right? And he kind of puts that into perspective and tells you to live life as if you're those astronauts. Each day you should be happy and grateful that you're here on Earth. Alright, other than appreciating what we are and where we are, he also talks about practice stopping. So, aka how to be present more. It kind of just erases all your attention and your stress from the day. And he says you should take a walk and focus on your footsteps to calm down. When you're doing this deep relaxation and thoughts come up, accept them, let them come in, but let them leave immediately as well. Don't beat yourself up over allowing them in, because we all have thoughts. They're always going to come in, but don't stagnate on them. Just let them go by, and you'll be in the present, which is really important for healing. And another way of doing this, of just being present, is meditation. So I actually have tried meditating, but I stopped doing it because I didn't find it super helpful. If you want to try it, it's only 15 minutes every morning. I suggest using an app called Medito. I used it for a good week or so, and it was a really good app. They have I think meditation sessions for you already planned out, so don't worry about it. Next, we can talk about the calm in the storm. And this is again a metaphor of his where basically you're kind of in a storm, aka your emotions, and you're trying to handle those strong emotions. So let's talk about it. So a pretty obvious point he brings up is when we usually have fear in our conscience, we tend to distract ourselves with games and drugs and other stuff to escape those fears and emotions that come with it. And this explains why even though we don't like what's going on TV, we'll still have it on because it's actually better than going home to ourselves and facing that pain. I guess one of the ways you can kind of handle these strong emotions is to breathe from your abdomen and focus on the rise and fall of your belly. And in the book, he also compares himself as a tree in a storm. So, obviously, in a storm, a tree's top will start swaying and it will look like it'll collapse. But when you start to look down, the trunk is really solid and supports the tree through the storm. This is a metaphor, right, for our own body. It's basically saying you shouldn't focus on the brain and upper portion of your body and let that handle your emotions because it's weak. It won't be your support. You should rather just go down to your navel, which is your belly button, and breathe and like live through the storm from there as your emotions pass. All right. Now that I'm done talking about the book, summarizing it kind of, I'm going to talk about the negatives now. This author, every practice is breathing in and out. When I spent reading like 5 hours, right? Find that on YouTube in like 5 minutes. Is there anything else? There's got to be some other method. Anyways, that's one negative that I found. And I feel like the advice he gives you are pretty basic. I didn't like it. I'll be honest, I didn't like this book at all. And is it worth investing the time to read it? I wouldn't. I would move on and read a different book if I were you. Another thing that I kind of found not off-putting, obviously because it's a religion, but 99% of the stuff in here is all Buddhist. Now I know he's a monk. I know, I get it. It's not some crazy statement to believe that he's going to talk about the Buddha. But as someone who doesn't really know, I didn't really understand most of the things he talked about because they're all related to like that religion and culture. I would rate it like maybe a 5 out of 10. It's not horrendous. It's not like appalling like some other books I've read, but it's just not great. It's pretty basic, so yeah, don't read it. That's all I gotta say. I'm gonna look for next week's book. I might do The Art of Not Giving a Fuck by Mark Manson. I hope I said his name right, but yeah. This week's book is done. Thank you for watching.